In the bustling spaceport of New Solara, where humans and aliens mingled freely under neon lights, life was a mix of chaos and wonder. The station's main bar, Stellar Brews *, buzzed with laughter, strange accents, and the occasional hum of alien instruments. At the center of it all stood Kai Voss, a charismatic human bartender known for his quick wit and easy charm. With a towel slung over his shoulder and a grin that never seemed to fade, he kept the drinks flowing and the patrons entertained. It was one of those nights when the galaxy felt particularly alive. A group of rowdy Trillic traders were haggling loudly over credits, while a pair of Shalvok dancers performed gravity-defying spins in the corner. The air smelled faintly of burnt plasma fuel and exotic spices from distant worlds. Everything seemed normal, until she walked in. She wasn't hard to notice. Her skin shimmered like liquid starlight, shifting colors with every step she took. Long, delicate limbs moved gracefully as she navigated through the crowded room, her elongated fingers brushing against nothing in particular. She had no hair, but intricate patterns glowed softly along her scalp, pulsing faintly in rhythm with her breathing. This was clearly a Gyrathi, a member of a reclusive species rarely seen outside their homeworld. Most people avoided them. They were rumored to be strict about traditions and unforgiving toward outsiders who disrespected their customs. Kai raised an eyebrow as she approached the counter. "What can I get you?" he asked casually, leaning forward on his elbows. Her voice came out smooth and melodic, though tinged with an otherworldly resonance. "Your strongest drink," she said simply, her large, luminous eyes locking onto his. Kai chuckled, already sensing an opportunity for some harmless fun. He grabbed a bottle of Nova Nectar *, a fiery blue liqueur infamous for knocking even seasoned spacers off their feet. As he poured the glowing liquid into a glass, he couldn't resist adding a little flair. "You know," he began, flashing his trademark grin, "in human culture, buying someone a drink means you're promising them forever." His tone was teasing, meant to lighten the mood. Around him, nearby customers snickered at the absurdity of the statement. Humans didn't take vows lightly, but this was just a joke, a playful quip to break the ice. But the woman didn't laugh. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made Kai's smile falter. For a moment, the noise around them seemed to fade, leaving only the soft clink of glasses and the steady thrum of the station's engines. Then, without hesitation, she replied, "Then I accept your vow." The words hit Kai like a punch to the gut. He blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. What?" "I accept your vow," she repeated, her expression unreadable. There was no trace of humor in her voice, only solemn certainty. Before Kai could respond, she reached into a pouch strapped to her side and placed a small crystalline object on the counter, a token etched with swirling symbols. "I am Silithra," she added, almost as an afterthought. "And now we are bound." Kai stared at the crystal, then at her, then back at the crystal again. Laughter bubbled up instinctively, breaking the tension. Okay, he said, waving a hand dismissively. "You got me. That's a good one. But seriously, what'll it be?" "Another round." Silithra didn't answer. She simply turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd as quickly as she'd arrived. Kai shook his head, chuckling to himself. Aliens were weird sometimes, weren't they? Still, something about the way she'd looked at him lingered in his mind long after she was gone. Little did he know, among the Gyrathi, words carried weight far beyond mere jest, and promises, once made, were not so easily dismissed. This version uses simple yet engaging language to set the scene, establish the characters, and introduce the central conflict. It keeps the tone lighthearted while hinting at deeper stakes, ensuring readers stay hooked. The journey to the first trial began aboard Silithra's ship, a vessel that felt more like a living organism than a machine. Kai sat stiffly in the passenger seat, gripping the armrests as the ship zipped through hyperspace. The walls pulsed rhythmically, and faint whispers echoed around him. Sounds he swore weren't there before. He glanced at Silithra, who seemed completely at ease, her hands hovering over the controls as if conducting an invisible orchestra. "So," Kai said, breaking the silence, "what exactly are we walking into? You mentioned trials, but you didn't say how many or what they involve." "There are 3 trials," Silithra replied without turning. "Each tests a different aspect of our bond: trust, resilience, and unity. Only by passing all 3 can the vow be severed." "Great, 3 chances to get killed." Kai sighed, leaning back in his seat. "And let me guess, these trials aren't exactly beginner-friendly." "They are dangerous," Silithra admitted, "but necessary. My people believe that bonds formed under such conditions must be resolved with equal gravity." Kai rolled his eyes but didn't argue. Arguing hadn't gotten him anywhere so far. Instead, he focused on observing the ship's crew, who occasionally passed through the cockpit. They were Jarathi, just like Silithra, their elongated limbs moving gracefully as they went about their tasks. Some shot Kai curious glances, while others avoided looking at him altogether. One crew member, however, stood out, a tall, imposing figure with darker bioluminescent patterns than the rest. His name was Virek, and he clearly didn't trust Kai. When their eyes met, Virek's expression hardened, and he muttered something in his native tongue before stalking off. "What's his problem?" Kai asked Silithra. "Virek believes humans are unworthy of undertaking the ritual," she explained. "He thinks your kind lacks the discipline required for such a task." "Well, isn't that flattering?" Kai muttered sarcastically. "Tell him I'll try not to embarrass myself too much." Silithra gave him a small, almost amused glance. "Do not concern yourself with Virek. Focus on surviving." As the ship approached their destination, a desolate moon orbiting a dying star, Kai felt his stomach tighten. Through the viewport, the surface looked barren and lifeless, its gray terrain dotted with jagged rocks and swirling dust storms. It was hard to imagine anything living here, let alone hosting one of the deadly trials. Once they landed, Silithra led Kai to a cavern entrance carved into the side of a cliff. Inside, the air was thick with static electricity, making Kai's hair stand on end. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting sound waves, as though the entire cave system were alive. "This is the trial of echoes," Silithra explained. "Here, doubts and fears manifest physically. You must confront them, not only to survive, but to prove your worthiness to sever the bond." Kai swallowed nervously. "Manifest physically? Like giant monsters made of my insecurities?" "In a way," Silithra said. "Be prepared. These echoes will challenge everything you believe about yourself." Before Kai could respond, a low rumble echoed through the cavern. Shadows began shifting along the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes that loomed larger with each passing second. One shadow took the form of a massive, snarling creature with glowing red eyes. It looked eerily familiar, like a distorted version of Kai himself. "This is insane," Kai whispered, backing away instinctively. "It has begun," Silithra said calmly, stepping forward. "Stay close to me. We face this together." As the echoes closed in, Kai realized this wasn't just about survival. It was about proving he had what it took to overcome his own weaknesses, and maybe, just maybe, earning Silithra's respect along the way. This part introduces new characters and dynamics, while setting up the stakes for the first trial. The dialogue and action keep the pace engaging, using simple language to ensure accessibility, while maintaining tension and intrigue. The next few days passed like any other for Kai, or so he tried to convince himself. Life at Stellar Brews was as chaotic as ever, with customers coming and going, their laughter blending into the hum of interstellar chatter. But something felt off. It started subtly, a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye, a faint whisper that didn't belong to anyone nearby. At first, Kai shrugged it off as exhaustion from working late shifts. After all, bartending wasn't exactly a relaxing job. But then the coincidences began piling up. One evening, while cleaning glasses behind the counter, Kai noticed a shadow lingering near the entrance of the bar. He glanced up, expecting to see another customer, but no one was there. Just an empty doorway framed by the dim glow of neon signs outside. Shaking his head, he returned to his task, only to catch the same shadow again moments later, this time closer to the bar. This time, when he turned, he saw her. Silithra. She stood just inside the doorway, her shimmering skin catching the light in ways that made her look almost unreal. Her glowing patterns pulsed faintly, as if reacting to the energy around her. For a moment, Kai froze, unsure whether to laugh or panic. Was she here to confront him, to take his joke seriously? Before he could decide, she stepped back and vanished into the crowd before he could say a word. Kai told himself it was nothing. Maybe she liked the bar's atmosphere, or maybe she was just passing through. Either way, it wasn't worth worrying about. But the sightings didn't stop. Over the next week, he spotted her multiple times, on the station's observation deck, near the docking bay, even outside his tiny apartment. Each time, she seemed to be watching him, her luminous eyes following his every move. What's going on? Kai muttered to himself one night, pacing his cramped living quarters. His friends had teased him endlessly about the alien girlfriend he'd supposedly wooed. But deep down, Kai couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play. Why would someone like Silithra, a member of such a mysterious and private species, keep showing up after what had clearly been a harmless joke? His unease grew when he found something unusual waiting for him at the bar one morning. On the counter lay a small crystalline object, identical to the one Silithra had left during their first encounter. Unlike regular crystals, this one seemed alive, its surface rippling with faint colors that shifted depending on how you looked at it. Picking it up cautiously, Kai examined it more closely. Etched onto its surface were intricate symbols unlike anything he'd seen before. Great, Kai sighed, setting it down. Now I've got alien souvenirs haunting me. As the day wore on, the strangeness escalated. Customers mentioned seeing the Jirathi ship hovering near the station more often than usual. Some claimed it stayed anchored for hours, its sleek silhouette casting long shadows across the docking bay. Others whispered rumors about peculiar energy readings emanating from the vessel, though none could explain what they meant. By the end of the week, Kai's curiosity outweighed his fear. If Silithra wanted to talk, fine. He'd find out what she wanted. But he wasn't going to let some cosmic misunderstanding ruin his life. Grabbing the crystal, he marched toward the docking bay, determined to get answers. When he arrived, the sight of the massive Jirathi ship took his breath away. Its smooth, metallic exterior reflected the stars like a mirror, and strange glyphs glowed softly along its hull. As Kai hesitated, wondering if he was making a huge mistake, the ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing a dark corridor within. Taking a deep breath, Kai stepped forward. Whatever awaited him inside, he knew one thing for sure. Silithra hadn't come here to laugh about a joke. And neither should he. This part builds tension by introducing mysterious events and escalating Kai's discomfort, keeping readers engaged while maintaining a straightforward narrative style. The use of simple language ensures accessibility without sacrificing intrigue. In the bustling spaceport of New Solara, where humans and aliens mingled freely under neon lights, life was a mix of chaos and wonder. The station's main bar, Stellar Brews *, buzzed with laughter, strange accents, and the occasional hum of alien instruments. At the center of it all stood Kai Voss, a charismatic human bartender known for his quick wit and easy charm. With a towel slung over his shoulder and a grin that never seemed to fade, he kept the drinks flowing and the patrons entertained. It was one of those nights when the galaxy felt particularly alive. A group of rowdy Trillic traders were haggling loudly over credits, while a pair of Shalvok dancers performed gravity-defying spins in the corner. The air smelled faintly of burnt plasma fuel and exotic spices from distant worlds. Everything seemed normal, until she walked in. She wasn't hard to notice. Her skin shimmered like liquid starlight, shifting colors with every step she took. Long, delicate limbs moved gracefully as she navigated through the crowded room, her elongated fingers brushing against nothing in particular. She had no hair, but intricate patterns glowed softly along her scalp, pulsing faintly in rhythm with her breathing. This was clearly a Giraffy, a member of a reclusive species rarely seen outside their homeworld. Most people avoided them. They were rumored to be strict about traditions and unforgiving toward outsiders who disrespected their customs. Kai raised an eyebrow as she approached the counter. "What can I get you?" he asked casually, leaning forward on his elbows. Her voice came out smooth and melodic, though tinged with an otherworldly resonance. "Your strongest drink," she said simply, her large, luminous eyes locking onto his. Kai chuckled, already sensing an opportunity for some harmless fun. He grabbed a bottle of Nova Nectar *, a fiery blue liqueur infamous for knocking even seasoned spacers off their feet. As he poured the glowing liquid into a glass, he couldn't resist adding a little flair. "You know," he began, flashing his trademark grin, "in human culture, buying someone a drink means you're promising them forever." His tone was teasing, meant to lighten the mood. Around him, nearby customers snickered at the absurdity of the statement. Humans didn't take vows lightly, but this was just a joke, a playful quip to break the ice. But the woman didn't laugh. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made Kai's smile falter. For a moment, the noise around them seemed to fade, leaving only the soft clink of glasses and the steady thrum of the station's engines. Then, without hesitation, she replied, "Then I accept your vow." The words hit Kai like a punch to the gut. He blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. What?" "I accept your vow," she repeated, her expression unreadable. There was no trace of humor in her voice, only solemn certainty. Before Kai could respond, she reached into a pouch strapped to her side and placed a small crystalline object on the counter, a token etched with swirling symbols. "I am Silithra," she added, almost as an afterthought. "And now we are bound." Kai stared at the crystal, then at her, then back at the crystal again. Laughter bubbled up instinctively, breaking the tension. Okay, he said, waving a hand dismissively. "You got me. That's a good one. But seriously, what'll it be?" "Another round." Silithra didn't answer. She simply turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd as quickly as she'd arrived. Kai shook his head, chuckling to himself. Aliens were weird sometimes, weren't they? Still, something about the way she'd looked at him lingered in his mind long after she was gone. Little did he know, among the Giraffy, words carried weight far beyond mere jest, and promises, once made, were not so easily dismissed. This version uses simple yet engaging language to set the scene, establish the characters, and introduce the central conflict. It keeps the tone lighthearted while hinting at deeper stakes, ensuring readers stay hooked. The cavern was alive with sound, or rather, the absence of it. Every step Kai and Silithra took echoed unnaturally, reverberating off the shimmering walls like whispers from another dimension. The air grew heavier, pressing down on them, as if the cave itself were testing their resolve. Shadows danced wildly around them, shifting into monstrous forms that seemed to mock their every move. "This place is creepy," Kai muttered under his breath, clutching a small energy torch Silithra had given him. Its faint blue glow did little to dispel the oppressive darkness. "How are we supposed to fight? Whatever this is." "You do not fight them directly," Silithra replied, her voice calm but firm. "These echoes feed on fear and doubt. To defeat them, you must confront what they represent." "Confront them? Great. So I just walk up to my biggest insecurities and ask them nicely to leave me alone." Kai's sarcasm masked his growing unease. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting one of the shadowy figures to lunge at him. Before Silithra could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. A deep guttural roar filled the cavern, shaking the very air. From the shadows emerged the first echo, a towering figure with Kai's face, twisted into an expression of pure rage. Its eyes burned crimson, and its body rippled like liquid smoke. It raised a clawed hand, pointing straight at Kai. "Is that me?" Kai stammered, taking a step back. "It is your fear of failure," Silithra explained. "Your doubt in your ability to succeed here." The echo lunged forward with terrifying speed, forcing Kai to dive out of the way. He scrambled to his feet, heart racing. Okay, got it. Big scary version of myself hates me. What now?" Silithra stepped between him and the creature, her glowing patterns intensifying. "You must face it. Acknowledge its truth and reject its hold over you." Kai hesitated, his mind racing. How was he supposed to reject something that felt so real? The echo roared again, advancing slowly, its movements deliberate and menacing. Memories flooded Kai's mind, moments when he'd doubted himself, times when he'd walked away from challenges because he didn't believe he was good enough. "I'm not weak," Kai shouted suddenly, surprising even himself. "I've made mistakes, sure, but I'm still standing. I'm not afraid anymore." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the echo faltered, its form flickering like a dying flame. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, it dissolved into nothingness. But there was no time to celebrate. Another echo appeared, an enormous serpentine creature with Silithra's glowing patterns etched across its scales. It coiled around her, pinning her arms to her sides. She struggled against it, her usual composure cracking for the first time. "This one represents my guilt," she said through gritted teeth, "for failing those I cared about in the past." Kai watched helplessly as the creature tightened its grip. Without thinking, he grabbed a sharp rock from the ground and hurled it at the echo. It struck true, causing the beast to hiss and loosen its hold. "You're not alone anymore," Kai yelled, stepping closer. "Whatever guilt you're carrying, let it go. You've done everything you could." Silithra stared at him, her glowing eyes wide with surprise. Slowly, the echo unraveled, dissolving into the air like mist. Breathing heavily, the two stood together in the sudden silence. The cavern no longer felt hostile. The oppressive weight lifted, replaced by a strange sense of calm. "We did it," Kai said, managing a shaky smile. "One trial down. One more to pass before we can rest," Silithra reminded him, though her tone was softer now. "But you handled yourself well, Kai Voss." Kai shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, well, don't get used to it. I'm still just a bartender." As they pressed onward, Kai noticed a subtle change in Silithra's demeanor. For the first time, she seemed less guarded, almost human. And despite the danger ahead, Kai found himself feeling a little less afraid too. This part keeps readers engaged with action, emotional depth, and character development. The trial forces both characters to confront their vulnerabilities, strengthening their bond while maintaining suspense for the next challenge. Simple language ensures clarity without sacrificing impact. After surviving the trial of echoes, Kai and Silithra found themselves aboard her ship once more, preparing for the second trial. The crew moved silently around them, their expressions tense. Even Virak, who usually radiated hostility, seemed subdued. Something about this next challenge weighed heavily on everyone, but no one spoke of it. "The second trial takes place in the Nebula of Whispers," Silithra explained as they approached their destination. "It is a sentient cloud of energy that reads minds and exploits weaknesses. To pass, we must navigate its core without succumbing to its illusions." "Great," Kai muttered, rubbing his temples. "So basically, we're walking into a giant brain that wants to mess with us." "In essence, yes," Silithra replied, her tone calm but serious. "But remember, the nebula thrives on division. It will try to turn us against each other. Trust is our only weapon." Kai nodded, though his stomach churned at the thought. Trust wasn't exactly his strong suit, not when it came to aliens, cosmic rituals, or anything remotely dangerous. Still, he'd made it through the first trial, and somehow Silithra's quiet confidence gave him hope. When they arrived at the nebula, its swirling colors shimmered like an oil slick in space. Streams of light twisted and danced, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. As they stepped inside, the air grew thick, pressing against them like water. Faint whispers filled the void, overlapping voices that sounded eerily familiar. "This way," Silithra said, leading him forward. Her glowing patterns dimmed slightly, as if the nebula drained her energy. Kai followed closely, clutching his torch tightly. The whispers began to take form, visions of people from their pasts. For Kai, it was his ex-girlfriend, standing before him with tears in her eyes. "You always run away," she accused, her voice sharp. "You'll never change." Kai froze, guilt twisting in his chest. He wanted to argue, to explain himself, but deep down, he knew there was truth in her words. Before he could respond, another vision appeared. Silithra, glaring at him with betrayal in her eyes. "You'll abandon me too," she said coldly, "just like everyone else." "No," Kai shouted, shaking his head. "That's not real." Silithra grabbed his arm, pulling him back to reality. "Do not listen to it," she urged. "These are lies meant to divide us." But the visions weren't done. This time, it was Kai's turn to see Silithra's fears. She stood frozen as shadowy figures surrounded her, faces of those she had lost. "You failed them," the voices whispered. "And now you'll fail him." Kai watched as pain flickered across Silithra's face. Without thinking, he stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Hey," he said softly. "We're in this together, remember? Whatever happened in your past, it doesn't define you." For a moment, their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. The visions faltered, their forms dissolving into mist. But the nebula wasn't finished yet. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, separating Kai and Silithra. A chasm opened, forcing them onto opposite sides. Between them hovered a pulsating orb of light, the nebula's core. To reach it, they would have to cross narrow bridges made of shifting energy. "You go first," Kai called out, gesturing toward the bridge. "I've got your back." Silithra hesitated, then nodded. Step by step, she crossed the unstable path, her movements careful but determined. When it was Kai's turn, the bridge wavered dangerously, threatening to throw him into the abyss below. Panic surged within him, but he forced himself to focus, repeating Silithra's words in his mind. "Asterisk trust is our only weapon asterisk." Finally, they reached the core together. The orb pulsed brighter, as if acknowledging their unity. With a final burst of light, the nebula released them, spitting them back into open space. As they collapsed onto the ship's deck, exhausted but alive, Kai let out a shaky laugh. "Well, that was fun. Can we do karaoke next?" Silithra managed a small smile despite her fatigue. "One trial remains. Are you ready?" Kai sighed, staring up at the ceiling. "Ready or not, here we go." This part keeps readers hooked with psychological tension and teamwork, emphasizing the growing bond between Kai and Silithra. Simple language ensures accessibility while maintaining emotional depth and suspense for the final trial. Kai's heart pounded as he stepped into the Gyrathi ship. The air inside felt different, thicker, charged with an energy that made his skin prickle. The corridor stretched ahead of him, its walls pulsating faintly, as if the ship itself were alive. Strange symbols glowed along the edges, casting eerie shadows that danced in rhythm with the hum of unseen machinery. He half expected alarms to blare or guards to appear. But the silence was unnerving. "Okay, Kai," he muttered under his breath, clutching the crystalline token tighter. "You've got this. Just ask her what she wants and get out." He followed the glowing path deeper into the ship, guided by instinct more than logic. The hallway seemed endless, bending slightly in ways that defied normal geometry. Gravity shifted subtly beneath his feet, making him stumble once or twice. By the time he reached a large chamber at the end, his nerves were frayed. The room was unlike anything Kai had ever seen. The floor shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting everything above it, a perfect mirror image of the domed ceiling adorned with swirling constellations. In the center stood Silithra, her bioluminescent patterns glowing brighter than before. She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "You came," she said simply, her melodic voice filling the space. "Yeah, well, you weren't exactly giving me much choice," Kai replied, trying to mask his anxiety with sarcasm. "Look, Silithra, or whatever your name is, I think we need to clear something up. That thing about the vow, it was just a joke. Humans do that sometimes. We say stuff to break the ice, not to start lifelong commitments." Silithra tilted her head, studying him intently. "Among my people, words carry weight. When spoken under certain conditions, in places of significance, they create bonds that cannot be undone without consequence." Kai blinked. Wait, hold on. Are you saying I'm stuck with you because of some dumb line I threw out while pouring drinks?" "It is not stuck," Silithra corrected, her tone firm but not unkind. "It is a connection forged between us, a vow recognized by the laws of my kind." Kai groaned, running a hand through his hair. This has got to be some kind of cosmic prank. Aliens don't just walk around binding themselves to random humans over bad jokes. "It is no prank," Silithra said, stepping closer. Her presence was overwhelming, both beautiful and intimidating. "If you wish to sever the bond, there is a way. But it will not be easy." "Oh great," Kai muttered. "Of course, it won't be easy. What is it?" "Some alien ritual involving chanting and fire. The asterisk ritual of severance asterisk," Silithra explained, ignoring his sarcasm. "It requires both parties to journey through trials designed to test their resolve. Failure means death, or worse, entrapment in the void between dimensions." Kai stared at her, his jaw dropping slightly. "Death? Entrapment? You're telling me I have to risk my life to undo a mistake I didn't even mean to make? If you value your freedom so highly, then yes," Silithra replied calmly. "But know this, attempting the ritual alone guarantees failure. If you choose to proceed, I will accompany you." For a moment, Kai didn't respond. His mind raced, trying to process the absurdity of the situation. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. He was just a bartender, not some intergalactic adventurer destined for perilous quests. And yet, here he was, standing aboard an alien ship, being asked to embark on a deadly mission, all because of one stupid joke. Finally, he let out a long sigh. "Fine. Let's say I agree to this crazy plan. What happens if we succeed? Do I go back to my normal life, and you go back to yours?" Silithra hesitated, her glowing eyes softening slightly. "The bond will be broken. But understand, Kai Voss, the ritual changes those who undertake it. Whether you succeed or fail, neither of us will emerge unchanged." Kai swallowed hard. As much as he wanted to laugh off the entire situation, he couldn't deny the sincerity in her voice. Whatever this vow meant to her, it was real, and dismissing it wouldn't make it disappear. "All right," he said finally, his voice steadier than he expected. "Let's do this. But if I die, I'm blaming you." Silithra's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "Then we must ensure you do not die." As they prepared to leave the chamber, Kai couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just signed up for something far bigger than himself. For better or worse, his fate was now tied to hers, and there was no turning back. This section keeps the tension high while providing key exposition about the ritual of severance, ensuring readers remain invested in Kai's reluctant journey. The dialogue-heavy approach adds personality and depth to both characters, using simple language to maintain clarity and engagement.